In this training session, we're going to take a look at log file monitoring in EventSentry. And there's two types of log file monitoring available in EventSentry. One is non-delimited log files. So that would be just regular log files that don't follow a specific pattern or structure. And the other ones are delimited log files. So this would be log files that follow a very specific structure, have different columns similar to like an Excel sheet where you have date, computer, source, destination, fields, and so forth. We're going to start with the non-delimited log files just so we understand the concept of how do we actually define these files, how do we monitor them. And it's going to be a little bit less involved, not having to specify and map those files, those delimited files into EventSentry. And then in the second session, we're going to look at delimited log files. So if you have the management console open, we have log file packages here. And they're very similar to all the other packages in EventSentry, except that we have the define files and file types option here. And you can also access that in the ribbon up there, of course. So here I have a installation of HMail servers. This is an SMTP server. It's no longer maintained, but I'm just using this for the example of monitoring a log file. So that's installed on the program files HMail server logs, and here's a single log file. And technically, we could consider this file a structured file because there are different columns, but we're just going to monitor this file as is. We're not going to try to define columns for date and time and so forth. So how do we do this? So the first thing you do in EventSentry when you monitor a log file is you have to define the actual file itself. Before we do anything, before we decide what are we going to do with this file, are we going to write it to the database? Are we going to get real-time event log alerts about specific content in those files? We have to define the file first. So we do that by clicking here. And you can see that there's already a number of files defined in here, and we're going to add a new one. And we're going to call it HMail server. And I'm going to copy the path here. It's non-delimited, so this file does not follow a specific structure. And we're going to say that we want to monitor all log files in that folder. Because if we look, we can see that the date is part of the file name, so that's going to change tomorrow. So we're just going to say, okay, let's monitor all files that have the log extension. Notes are useful if you want to tell somebody else what this file is all about. I'm going to skip that. So now the file is defined. We're not going to worry about the log file definitions for now. So now that we have the file defined, we still haven't really told EventSentry what we want to do with this file. And that's where the packages come in. So that's where we actually define the rules of what are we going to do with this file. So as always, we're going to hit the add button. I'm just going to call it HMail server again. I'm going to assign it to the local machine here. So that's our EventSentry server. And now we have the option that's only available for log files to add a previously defined file. And that would be, of course, the HMail server. Now that we have added this here, we essentially have some sort of a filter where we define, okay, what are we going to do with the contents of this file? So here for reference, we see where the file is. And we only have one database. So once I click add, the primary database is automatically added. So of course, the primary purpose here is that we can actually store the contents of this file in the database. And that's really useful, especially when you have multiple instances of that file and you want to search them. So let's say you have some sort of a third-party application running on your network and that's running on, let's say, 20 servers. Well, you can consolidate all these files into EventSentry and search them from a single interface. And what we could also do is we can say, okay, we want to log alerts to the event log. So if we look at this file here again, and let's just say we're looking for a particular error in this file, something that's critical. There really shouldn't be anything in here because this is just a test installation that's not doing anything. But let's just say we want to know when the server is stopped. We can copy this here. And now we can say, well, log to the application event log as an error. And we want to include the one line before and after. And then the default here is exclude. So that means we only log lines to the event log that are included below. And here we just say server stopped. and be doing a wildcard match. You can also do a regex match. And that's how easy it is. So anytime the line server stopped appears, the text in the log file appears, EventSentry is going to log an error to the event log. And we can then essentially set up a filter in our event log packages to forward that alert to a recipient. And that's really how easy it is. So just to go over this again. So first, when you monitor a file, you define the file. In this particular case, of course, it's just a non-delimited file. So there's nothing else to do but to just add it here as a non-delimited type. There's also variables that you can use. Generally speaking, that's not necessary because the wildcards will work just fine. But you can also use variables as part of the file name. So if you want to really match the file name exactly, then we could have also used, for example, the $year, $month, $day variables here. And once that file is added, we have a package here where we define, okay, what's happening with this. And of course, here we have include set. So that means anything that's being logged to this file is going to end up in the database. Of course, we could still exclude certain lines. So for example, if we had some text here, let's just say worker exited in work queue, and let's just say, you know, this gets logged a lot and we don't want to have that in the database, then we could just go in here, add another exclusion, and then exclude that text from being written to the database. And where is this going to be available? If you go into the web reports, go under features and log files, then once new data is being added to this file, then you will see the contents in here, and all you can do, what you can do here is, of course, click the detail tab, and then here you'll see the contents of this file in here, and you can, of course, search for specific lines in there, create reports, and so forth.